as long as they want to keep this Sami Zayn and Bloodline stuff going, I'm fine with it. Part of me wonders, though, eventually when it happens, because at some point Sami Zayn will be murdered by the Bloodline. That's going to happen. So I'm going to ask you guys, do you think that when Sami inevitably gets destroyed and the Bloodline kicks him out, is it going to be a situation where Roman is going to have to change his tune, no longer like Sami, and instructs his family to remove this mole off of our ass? Or are they just using him the whole time? Is this whole thing an act? Because Roman is being a little bit over the top by treating Sami like family and Jay like not family. Roman's done that before. He treated Jay like shit a couple of years ago before Jimmy came back when they had their series of matches together. So Jay has always had issues with Roman and his position in the Bloodline and whatnot. But when it comes time to get rid of Sami, is it going to be revealed that the whole time the Jey Uso stuff was just an act? The whole time that that Roman and Jimmy and Solo were just using Sami, and they really, in their hearts, felt the same way Jay did, but they were hiding it better, and they were just using Sami to get to some ultimate goal. The only problem is I don't know what that goal is. They already have all the championships. So what are they using Sami to accomplish? So if it all turns out to be just a ruse, what does that mean? I have an idea. This is how boss I think the Bloodline would be. Roman and Heyman have both mentioned that there's just nobody left to beat. There's nothing left to do. This dude is wrestling a YouTuber in Saudi Arabia in a couple of weeks. He's got no real tangible threats to his championship right now. The Usos, same thing. They're on top of the world. They got all the titles. The Bloodline literally as strong as ever. Do you think that the Bloodline is doing this simply to amuse themselves? Is it going to be revealed at the end of this? Because like I said, they're using Sami, yes, obviously, but using him for what? Using him for what? What do they need him for? They are strong as fuck without him. Solo is all the muscle you need. Sami, yes, adds a lot of comedy relief and comedic relief. He's popped and broken Roman a couple of times right there in the middle of the ring, where Roman had to turn away from the camera to stop the camera from seeing the snot coming out of his nose from laughing so hard. So I don't want that to go anywhere, but do you think because the Bloodline is so on top and they just have nothing else to do and they're just bored, they're like, let's just take somebody and fuck with him for 6 months just to amuse ourselves. And at the end, when we have to tell him that we've used him and we have to break his heart and we have to shatter his life and shatter his dreams, we're going to do that just because it gives us our jollies. Do you think that could be the ultimate payoff here when Sami eventually gets knocked out of the Bloodline, which has got to be coming at some point? I kind of think that would be funny. I mean, because that would be the ultimate insult, to think so lowly of you that we are just going to use you and string you along and play you like a fiddle until we're done with you, and then we're going to cast you aside. And then Sami can feel ashamed, embarrassed, broken. I've never felt like less of a man, on the verge of just giving it all up and disappearing, until an old buddy knocks on the door. Mr. Owens comes in, rallies his friend, and Kevin Owens and Sami come together and they take the belts off the Usos. Don't you think that would be cool? So anyway, I don't know how it's all going to pay off with Sami and the Bloodline. I don't know. But he's going to be booted out there at some point. A lot of people have been looking at War Games as a potential spot for that. Either Sami being a member of the team, fucking up and getting killed in that cage by the Bloodline at the end of it when he costs him to lose or something, or if he gets kicked out prior to that, and then he's on the other side of the Bloodline in the War Games. Whatever they do, they got about a month to figure it out. So I'm kind of on the fence. Part of me wants to see what happens when they finally kick out Sami, but at the same time, I still think there's enough mileage here to keep this until the end of the year. Eventually, it's probably going to wear out its welcome, and some fans are probably, because they're like this with everything, some fans are probably going to be like, oh, when is this going to end already? Like they always do. But I still think you don't have to end it quite yet. It can't go on for another year. I'm not stupid. But I still think there's enough, because I'm telling you, if we can get some Sami and Bloodline segments like around the Christmas holidays, presents to the tribal chief, the type of present that Sami Zayn could potentially buy for Roman Reigns would be great, wouldn't it? So I kind of hope they last a little bit longer here. But when the breakup inevitably happens, I'm curious how WWE is gonna book that out. Should be good.